A slap in the face was the feeling I got when I saw the text message that my Aunt Diana had sent to my phone. On this coming Saturday, the Morton family reunion will take place at the Imperial Grand. There is no point in arriving. A failure is not tolerated. In my own office, which was located on the highest floor of the Imperial Grand Hotel, I was surrounded by windows that reached from floor to ceiling and offered a breathtaking view of the city that I had successfully conquered. I laughed. That message would have been quite powerful 5 years ago. All of a sudden, it was hilarious. Once more, my phone rang at me. Our standards must be upheld at all times. Within the city, the Imperial Grand is the most prestigious hotel that can be found. There is no way that you could ever disgrace us again. I took a quick glimpse at the enormous oil painting that was hanging on my wall. It depicted 3 generations of the Wilson family, who had previously owned the hotel, shaking hands with me after I had purchased their illustrious hospitality empire for a sum of $300 million. However, Aunt Diana was unaware of that fact. Not one of them did it. I was still known to my family as Sophia Morton, the Great Disappointment. I was the one who chose to work as a hotel maid rather than join the family's prominent law business. I was the one who opted to drop out of law school in order to squander time in the hospitality industry. During the time that I was cleaning rooms, they were unaware that I was gaining knowledge about every facet of hotel operations. Those individuals were unaware of the fact that my insignificant job as a concierge had taught me what luxury travelers truly desired. I was able to reinvent the dining experience in high-end hotels because to my time spent working as a server in restaurants, which they were not aware of. My cousin Victoria sent me yet another note, which made its appearance on my screen. Sophia, your mother is absolutely correct. There is a significant gathering of the family here. There is no way that you can continue to show up at work wearing your uniform. These days, my job uniform consisted of Armani that had been custom-tailored to my measurements, although they wouldn't know otherwise. They still saw me wearing the housekeeping outfit that I had worn 10 years ago, when I had just begun my journey into the hotel industry and was learning everything from the bottom up. I heard Michael, my assistant, speaking via the intercom. "Ms. Morton, I am calling you. You are now able to study the quarterly revenue reports that have been prepared. In addition, the Wilson family has been responsible for delivering the final ownership transfer documents for their homes in Singapore." "It is my pleasure, Michael. And what about the reservation for the family gathering that happens on Saturday?" "Everything is set up in accordance with the request. There is a reservation for our large ballroom for the Morton party. The most costly champagne package that we provide was requested by them. Could I add it to the bill that they have?" I couldn't help but smile as I recalled how Aunt Diana had boasted on Facebook about the fact that she had hosted the reunion at the most prestigious location in the city. They should be led to believe that it is complimentary. For the time being. It was still booming with conversations about the reunion when I switched back to my phone and found that the family group chat was still going strong. There was also my mother present. "Sophia, could you please understand? The only thing your aunt is doing is attempting to protect the reputation of our family. The Imperial Grand is quite picky about the people who come through their doors. As we had been. No, not in the way that they had anticipated." When I opened my laptop, I was able to access the guest profiles that my team had developed for the Morton family reunion. During the previous year, Aunt Diana Morton made 3 separate attempts to use credit cards that were expired at 3 different luxury hotels. Cousin Victoria Morton was always requesting free upgrades and complaining about every hotel she had ever been at. Her complaints were consistent. It is well known that Uncle George Morton sexually harassed female employees working in hotels. The majority of the city's most upscale hotels had secretly begun to exclude the entire family from their guest lists. I was the sole owner of the Imperial Grand, which is the only reason they were able to secure a reservation there. Once more, my phone rang at me. This time, it was my younger sister Lily, who was the only member of the family who was aware of the exact reality. "Oh my goodness, Sophia, are you seriously going to allow them to carry out how they have planned? They are being quite awful." "Don't worry," I responded with a copy. "I have a strategy in mind." One member of the family who did not share the family's collective delusion was Lily. As I worked my way up from cleaning rooms to owning them, she had witnessed my progression. Not only had she been there when I took out my first business loan, but she was also there when I purchased my first modest hotel and when I began to grow my empire. "Just give me your word that you will record their expressions when they find out," she said in a message. I responded that everything was already set. The recordings will be made by each and every security camera in the building. Remembering the day 5 years ago when Aunt Diana had sent me out of her house for embarrassing the family during her daughter's wedding, I leaned back in my chair and reflected on the event. Am I guilty? When it comes to Victoria's new spouse and his past of investment fraud, telling the truth is essential. After a period of 6 months, when Victoria's husband was arrested for operating a Ponzi scheme, no one expressed regret for the situation. They simply pretended that it had never taken place, as if they had pretended that I did not exist unless they were looking for someone to make fun of. My train of thought was disrupted when there was a knock at my door. "Please come in." Entering the room with a tablet in his hand was James Chin, who is my head of security. "Ms. Morton, I have gone over the safety procedures that will be in place for the event on Saturday. Are you certain that you want to await till all of them have entered the building before?" "Indeed." I interrupted him with a grin on my face. "Initially, allow them to become comfortable. Allow them to place the order for the pricey champagne. Allow them to boast to their colleagues about the fact that they were at the Imperial Grand." With a look of comprehension in his eyes, he nodded. James was with me ever since I opened my first hotel, back when I was still getting my feet wet in the hospitality industry. He was aware of the amount of effort I had put in and the costs I had borne. As for their bookings for the room, he inquired about it. "Get rid of them. Every one of them. As soon as they attempt to check in, I want them to acquire the knowledge that their accommodations have been unexpectedly rendered unavailable. Your own parents as well." I was thinking about the contemptuous things that my father had spoken to me when I informed him that I was leaving law school. "There will be no servant roles for any of my daughters. In the event that you leave the legal profession, you will also leave this family. More specifically, my parents." In his tablet, James took a note of something. "Also, how does the ballroom look? Get rid of everything on the table except for one. As one chair. Keep the chandeliers dark, with the exception of the one spotlight that is shining on that chair." He chuckled and said, "Psychological warfare. It appeals to me." Following James' departure, I made my way to the window and gazed down at the metropolis that had witnessed my own transformation from maid to mogul. As a symbol of everything I had accomplished, the Imperial Grand stood as a tribute to it. It is not through connections inside the family or through inherited advantage. Rather, it is through perseverance and hard work. All of a sudden, my phone rang once more. "Aunt Diana once more, we have enlisted the services of expert photographers. Please make an effort to comprehend that we cannot allow someone like you to damage the photographs. The Imperial Grand adheres to certain criteria." As I ran my finger along the nameplate that was on my desk, I couldn't help but smirk. Sophia Morton is the Chief Operating Officer and owner of Imperial Hospitality Group. "Wow, Aunt Diana," I mumbled to myself. "It is completely unknown to you what our standards actually are." The remainder of the week was spent by me going over each and every aspect of my strategy. The surveillance cameras were repositioned so that they could record every conceivable viewpoint. The staff received a briefing. In particular, those individuals who had endured the entitled behavior of my family over the course of the years were very excited about what was going to happen. That evening, on Friday, I called Lily. "Will you be prepared for the next day?" she exclaimed. "I was born ready. My video camera is fully charged, and I have everything else ready." "Yet, Sophia, are you certain that this is the case? They are still members of the same family." I reflected on all of the family get-togethers that I had been left out of taking part in, when they made fun of my decisions on my professional path. Over the course of all those years, I was constantly treated more like a servant than a daughter. When they made the decision that I was beneath them, it was the day that they ceased being in the family. They are going to find out tomorrow how completely incorrect they were. I was in my penthouse suite at the top of the Imperial Grand that night, and I was planning out my clothing for the next day so that I could look my best. Not the Armani outfits that I often wear, but rather something completely different. I have meticulously kept the very same housekeeping outfit that I had worn 10 years ago as a memento of the place where I had begun my career. When it comes to getting retribution, words aren't always necessary. When it comes to the perfect moment, sometimes all that is required is the appropriate costume. On Saturday morning, the weather was just wonderful, And it was the kind of weather that money could not buy. From the comfort of my office, I watched as the first members of my family arrived at the Imperial Grand in the least luxurious cars they could afford, all the while making a big effort to appear as though they belonged there. James informed everyone over the intercom that they are beginning to come for the event. Just now, your aunt made an attempt to insist on an early check-in. Upon hearing that the rooms were not available, she inquired about having a conversation with the proprietor. A grin appeared on my face as I adjusted my old housekeeping clothes. What was it that you shared with her? Because there is a high probability that the proprietor will certainly be present today. I took a quick look at the security feeds that showed the lobby of the hotel. When Aunt Diana was complaining about the situation in the room, she was holding court near the marble fountain and waving in a dramatic manner. Although she was standing next to her, Victoria was tapping away on her phone, most likely composing yet another critical review. The entrance was just opened by my parents, my father dressed in his costly suit and my mother dripping with jewelry that she had borrowed. After then, James said, "The ballroom is ready. In accordance with the request, there is one table, one chair, and a spotlight. Furthermore, the documentation." There was a hefty folder on my desk, and I patted it. Everyone is present. Each and every disrespectful text, each and every mocking email, each and every social media post in which they boasted about excluding me, as well as the hotel's guest records that demonstrate their history of entitled conduct. Also, the paperwork that prove ownership of the property. In addition, your sister Lily has just arrived. She has her camera in the appropriate place. Just right. In order to communicate with the family group chat, I picked up my phone and sent a message. I really hope that everyone has a wonderful day at the Imperial Grand. This location provides outstanding service. The reactions were harsh and came very immediately. You would not know Aunt Diana, would you? They would never allow someone like you to enter the building. Stop being such a pitiful person, Victoria. Your job at the Holiday Inn is to clean the rooms. I beg you, Mom, Sophia, to not make a fuss over this. It is our goal to host a pleasant get-together for the family. I watched on the surveillance screen as they read my message and laughed among themselves at my expense for the very last time. James, I directed him to begin the first phase. Within a matter of minutes, the front desk started alerting the family members who were arriving that their room bookings had been cancelled. To answer your question, there were no other rooms available. No, they were unable to communicate with a manager. Certainly, it did not make a difference that they were distinguished guests. Watching the mayhem was a wonderful experience. As Aunt Diana demanded to know the reason why her booked reservation had been cancelled, her complexion became a deep shade of purple. After learning that she would not have a suite to change into before the reunion, Victoria could not contain her emotions and burst into tears. When my father attempted to threaten the Imperial Grand with legal action, he was reminded in a courteous manner that the hotel had great legal representation. "I command the second phase," I said as I watched the drama play out. My family members, who were becoming increasingly upset, were shepherded by the personnel in the direction of the grand ballroom. Their ecstatic talk came to an end as soon as the double doors were unlocked. When they arrived, they discovered a dimly lit room with a single spotlight shining on a single chair. This was in stark contrast to the extravagant arrangement that they had anticipated, which included circular tables draped in silk, crystal centerpieces, and champagne fountains. After hearing my mother's voice, which was shrill with shame, I realized that there must be some kind of mistake. James replied in a calm manner, "There is no mistake, Mrs. Morton. It would be very appreciated if everyone would take turns the spotlight. The proprietor is adamant. There is no way to do this." Aunt Diana started to scream. "Have you ever heard of us before? Urgently, I demand to have a conversation with the proprietor." As I entered the ballroom, I informed people that their desire had been granted. The lack of sound was painfully loud. While I was standing there in my old housekeeping uniform and holding my packet of documents, 40 different pairs of eyes turned to look at me. To Sophia. The voice of my father was trembling. "In this place, what are you doing? Also, why are you dressed in such a manner?" "That is it." "To what extent, Dad?" "Similar to a failure. Similar to someone who is underneath you." Taking my time, I made my way toward the spotlight. "Someone who does not have the right to be a member of this family. What do you mean?" I interrupted Aunt Diana when she was trying to tell me a joke, if this is some type of joke. Indeed, this is not a joke. Having said that, I must confess that it was rather entertaining to watch all of you throw tantrums about the fact that your bookings were cancelled. As I continued to walk, my voice carried through the amazing acoustics of my ballroom, and I noticed that their expressions began to turn into expressions of comprehension. I want you to understand, Aunt Diana, that the Imperial Grand does have very high expectations. Any guests who are abusive to our personnel will not be tolerated. Expired credit cards are not accepted by our company. Also, we do not cater to individuals who believe that wealth is synonymous with social standing. What exactly are you referring to then? It was Victoria's demand. Simply put, you are a maid. Once I was in the spotlight, I spun around to face my family directly. In reality, I am the proprietor. The Imperial Grand and the full Imperial Hospitality Group are both included in this. 25 five-star hotels spread over 3 continents. A satisfying thwack was heard as the folder opened, and there was complete silence. Is it okay if we go back and look at some history? It is you, Aunt Diana, who is accusing me of being a failure because I did not complete my legal education. On Facebook, here you are, Victoria, making fun of the job that my servant does. Here I am, Dad, declaring that I am no longer your daughter since I have chosen to pursue a career in hospitality rather than law. While they were busy gazing down on me, I pulled out the ownership records and showed them the numbers, the acquisitions, and the empire that I had built while they were busy scrutinizing me. My mother said, "That's not possible, that's not even possible." What is it that mother cannot do? Your daughter, who has been unsuccessful in the past, now owns the most prestigious hotel in the city? That the one who you would not invite to family occasions has the ability to purchase and sell this entire family 100 times over? But the rooms. Mrs. Diana sputtered in pain. Discontinued. According to my instructions. In the same way, this reunion has been called off. I smiled, taking pleasure in the way that they jerked back. All things considered, the Imperial Grand does have some standards. We do not sponsor events for individuals that engage in discriminatory behavior toward service workers. You are unable to accomplish this. Victoria wept in agony. It is going to be all of my friends. It is quite embarrassing. It is embarrassing. I moved closer to the object. Do you feel like you're being taught that you're not sufficient for your own family? What would it be like to be excluded from every gathering because you make people feel embarrassed? Such as having your decisions in life ridiculed and degraded over a number of years. I shouted out to the security personnel, and James and his team came to the scene. Thank you for escorting everyone out. In the event that they put up a fight, we have a wealth of evidence pertaining to their previous actions at other hotels. I have no doubt that the media would be curious to learn about it. Please, Sophia, my father made an attempt to reach out and grab me. The topic is open for discussion. When I was in need of support, you were there to chat to me. When I was working 3 jobs in order to gain experience in this industry. While you were all pretending to pretend with your rented fancy vehicles and credit cards that were maxed out, I was working on something that was actually happening. My family, who were in a state of shell shock, and I were herded toward the exits by the security personnel. Although I was able to hear my mother's pleadings, my Aunt Diana's complaints, and Victoria's weeping, none of them were significant at this point. One other thing, I'd like to mention that I went after them. What kind of champagne did you order? Was it the one that you considered to be complimentary? I am going to mail the bill to every one of you individually. There is a fee for the service. Lily emerged from her hiding place with the camera in her hand after they had completely disappeared. That was truly remarkable. Anyway, how are you doing? After taking a look around the empty ballroom, I recalled all of the times that others had told me that I was not qualified to be in situations such as this one. I have no flaws. After some time had passed, I changed back into my regular attire and sat in my office, where I watched the sun set and paint the city in a gorgeous golden hue. There were hundreds of missed calls and messages from members of my family, ranging from angry to contrite to manipulative. My phone was full with everything. All of them were removed. The following morning, the story Hotel Empire Owner Reveals Identity, Cancels Family Reunion Over Discrimination, was published in every major social column in the city with significant circulation. My journey from maid to magnate was celebrated in the articles, which described my trip and celebrated the very path that my family had derided. It was a devastating blow to my aunt's social circle. Partners at the law firm that my father runs were taken aback. The triumphant companions were unable to refrain from discussing it. The very person who the family had turned down brought to light the fact that they were frauds, despite the fact that they had fought so hard to maintain their image of success. After a week had passed, I saw that my father had sent me a letter. An official invitation to become a partner in the family law business was enclosed within the envelope. A housekeeping uniform was returned to me along with a message that read, "No thanks. Rather than renting offices in buildings, I would rather own them on my own." As time went on, the Imperial Grand continued to flourish, strengthening its image as an outstanding establishment. People who, like me, wanted to understand the business from the ground up were the ones I hired and promoted, and I made it a policy to prioritize them. My experience was shared with each and every new worker, not as a narrative of vengeance but rather as evidence that genuine achievement does not originate from family names or privileges that are inherited. Occasionally, in the late hours of the night, I would put on my old uniform and walk through the corridors of my hotel, thinking of the young lady who had mastered every facet of the industry while her family made fun of her decisions. Not at all, she was a failure. She was a primary founder. And now everyone was aware of it. There was never another time when the Morton family got together at a five-star hotel. They were unable to. A blacklist had been created for them by each and every high-end property in the country. It appears that other hotel proprietors found my narrative to be interesting. As a further reminder that success does not necessarily come with designer labels, several people even framed it and displayed it in their offices. For my part, I made sure to maintain that spotlight in the ballroom. In the course of hotel tours, I would occasionally share with new staff the story of the day when I stood in it while dressed in a housekeeping uniform and demonstrated to my family that they had been wrong about me all along. Retribution was not the only motivation. The purpose of this was to demonstrate to them, as well as to everyone else, that actual worth is not dependent on who you were born to be. It all depends on the person you decide to become. And I made the decision to become someone that they could never have dreamed. I was successful in a field that they considered to be beneath them, but I established my own conditions and did things my own way. The Imperial Grand served as a testament to my credentials. As a failure, it's not too horrible.